Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Data Networks webinar focusing on how to build a proximity tracing strategy for enterprise IT. My name is Dwayne McKenzie. I am a solutions architect with Data Networks, focusing on infrastructure and security. We'll have presenters today from Mist Juniper. I have Nick Wood, who's our account manager, plus Ben McDonald will do a nice presentation as well as a live demo. He's a systems engineer. You can see on the screen what we're going to be doing on for our agenda. We'll talk about what other solutions are out there globally, as well as how proximity tracing is going to be done. And as I said, we'll have a demo. We will finish up with the Q&A. So if anybody does have questions throughout the presentation, there should be a Q&A button on your screen. So you can just use that and we'll answer either throughout or at the end of the demo. So just a little bit of background about Data Networks. Data Networks is headquartered in Hunt Valley, Maryland, and we've been a leading IT solution provider since 1983, so well over 35 years. We were recently named a CRN solution provider top 500 this year, as well as a Tech Elite 250 from CRN. We actually have engineers experienced in multiple areas of IT. Again, I focus on infrastructure and security, but we also have solution sets that include client computing, data center, and even cloud and managed IT services. We have been a Juniper lead partner for as long as I've been with the company, and we are an early adopter of Mist's AI. We use Juniper both for our security as well as infrastructure, and obviously Mist for our wireless. And I would like to turn this over to Nick Wood from Mist Juniper for his introduction to the company.
A very good morning to you. Trying to advance these slides here. There we go. My apologies there. A very good morning to you. My name is Nick Wood. I'm with Mist Juniper. These slides, excuse me, something's not quite right. My apologies. I'm going to jump off onto the first slide here. We're missing the first one, but this is important. So, a very good morning, Nick Wood with Mist. I'd like to introduce Mist to you, a Juniper company. On this slide, I'd like to introduce the folks that started Mist. It's important to note that we have two gentlemen in a blue box there, Bob Friday and Sujay. They are both the founders of Mist. Between them, they have lots of patents in the wireless field. They were with Cisco for a very, very long time, responsible for the acquisition of several wireless platforms within Cisco. And their latest venture in the mid-2000s was to convince Cisco and Google investment to invest in a company called Mist that was to be an AI-driven enterprise networking company. So it's very important to see that these gentlemen here, all five of them, were responsible for some of the largest wireless networks in the world. Tom Wilburn is our Cisco winover from the Meraki side of the house. He is leading our sales today. So to move on, what I'd like to do is share with you the evolution of the wireless platforms in the world today. So back in the early 2000s, Wi-Fi in their first generation for enterprise, Wi-Fi was not, of course, solely for the enterprise before that. Cisco and Aranet brought a controller-based Wi-Fi solution to the market. This was considered the Gen 1 Wi-Fi platform. And then in 2003, Intel introduced their Centrino chipset. This was a pretty important step in the evolution of wireless. It made a wireless platform pervasive throughout the enterprise on laptops and desktops as well. And it saw a need to kind of grow the Wi-Fi infrastructure space. And what we saw in 2003 was a growth of companies, right? So we saw some innovation hit the space, with Aruba hitting the market, Ruckus, Meraki, and Aerohive, kind of leveraging that Centrino technology that was hitting the market. And then in 2007, we saw the introduction of Amazon Web Services, AWS, and the smartphone. So the iPhone was kind of brought to market in around the 2007 timeframe, and it made wireless even more pervasive and even more dense throughout the network. But between the years 2007 and 2016, there were really no new entrants into the wireless infrastructure space. And then in the latter part of that era, we saw Bluetooth kind of taking a very strong position in the wireless market. And that's when Bob Friday came up with the idea of introducing AI into a network infrastructure. And that's when Mist was formed in 2014. In 2016, we launched our first products, and we now are known for our AI-driven networks and the intelligence that that brings to the infrastructure space. So this is the slide that kind of introduces what we do. The most important thing that we do is to give a client-level visibility. And what we mean by this is we are only interested in what the client-level experience is. And throughout our technologies, you're going to hear about service-level expectations, very much like a service provider arena where you have SLAs, we have SLEs. So we're trying to make this a reliable and predictable platform. We've done that with AI-driven operations. So Bob Friday kind of developed an AI engine called Marvis, and Ben will get into that later on in the demo. And we've actually installed that in the cloud, right? So it's a microservices cloud infrastructure. What this means is that we can actually leverage the microservices platforms that AWS or Google or Azure offer, and we can kind of load balance the features and the functionality of the operating system, or the controllers as they used to be called, in the cloud. This means that we can seamlessly upgrade features, we can seamlessly upgrade performance without the end user noticing, right? So for an example, if you're watching Netflix, right, every morning you log on to Netflix, everything's changed. Your screens have changed, your content has changed, what's available to you and the offering has changed. Well, you didn't have to do any updates for that. That's happening dynamically in the background with no impact on your experience whatsoever. And that's akin to what we do. We do exactly the same thing. And if you notice that Netflix is on this screen, they noticed that we were doing exactly the same thing as they were and said this works for us and are now one of our reference customers. And then the final pillar on the right, digital engagement with virtual BLE, we had the insight very early on to implement BLE within our access points. And we have a pretty smashing implementation of BLE. So we have 16 Bluetooth array antennas in each access point that are kind of laid out like a compass. And that gives us a very strong directionality functionality for what we're about to talk about later in the presentation. And then around here, around the four pillars, you'll see some of our customers, right? So of note, Walmart and Amazon. So Walmart is rolling out all of their stores, and they'll be putting Mist, APs, and Bluetooth in every single one of their stores. If you go to Walmart and you can load the Walmart app, find a product within their app, and it will lead you to the aisle and the shelf that that product is actually on. And that's all thanks to our platform. So many more customers of note here. And I just saw a question, what is BLE? Real quickly, BLE is Bluetooth Low Energy, right? So it's basically a Bluetooth radio that's built into the application. So last year in April, Juniper acquired Mist. Why did they acquire Mist? Well, they didn't acquire Mist to fill a wireless infrastructure hole. They didn't want to be a Me Too player in the wireless space at all. That's not why they bought us. It did fill that hole, but more importantly, they bought us for our AI engine, right? So We're going to be using, and we have already implemented, Marvis and AI platform to umbrella the rest of the Juniper products. And as you well know, Juniper is very good at switching, very good at routing, very good at firewalls, and many, many other products. And the goal is to umbrella those technologies and those products with our AI engine. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Ben. I hope you all are happy and healthy in this day and age and the difficulties we're seeing. But with that, Ben, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So I'm going to jump right into it. We're going to go over proximity tracing or contact tracing, as it is often referenced. This is a really, really hot topic right now as enterprises return back to work. So really what we're going to do is kind of discuss what you all need to do in order to safely bring employees back to work. What type of questions that you're going to receive, and really how Mist and Juniper can help you get data and get answers to those questions so that you can safely bring employees back. So what it comes down to is there's a couple different roles and responsibilities. We kind of break this down into a micro and a macro level. At the macro level, if this will build out, would be governments and large public health institutions. These are the people that are responsible for tracking COVID-19 cases at a global level, doing the case reporting. And it's actually pretty interesting because they are being supported by the two largest mobile device manufacturers, Apple and Google. They're working together for the first time to help solve this problem of contact tracing. And what's interesting is that they're using BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, as the foundational method of doing this contact tracing. But that's at the kind of the macro level. So at the micro level, we have the enterprises themselves. So the enterprises, the question you need to solve is, how do I reopen up my business? And if something were to happen where you have a COVID-19 positive employee or a COVID-19 positive student, how do you react if something like that were to happen? So what we have is Mist and Juniper supporting that effort. So obviously Apple and Google are going to be using, why is this advancing? Pardon me, back up a slide. Maybe. Well, regardless, so Mist and Juniper are supporting enterprises because Mist is the market leader in BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy. So we're able to provide enterprises and organizations data with regards to how to reopen safely. So what is Apple and Google, what are they doing? What is the solution? So they are doing something that's based on the MIT PACT method of contact tracing. It stands for Private Automated Contact Tracing. So it's basically a protocol that's leveraging BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy. And what Apple and Google are using, they are using this technology so that they can automatically and autonomously alert individuals if they've been in close proximity to a COVID-19 positive person. So BLE, it's this protocol. It can see how long two BLE devices have been in contact with each other, and also what that approximate distance was. So what this allows you to do is to basically alert somebody if they've come in contact with a COVID-19 positive person, but you can do it anonymously, so that if you were in contact, you can maybe self-quarantine or report yourself to a doctor or something like that. Let's go to the next slide. Hopefully. All right, so the Apple and Google solution this is what is supporting the governments at the macro level, but it doesn't necessarily help the individual enterprises. The Apple and Google solution don't actually have any location awareness. All right, let's go back one slide. Yeah, there's no location awareness. So enterprises are really kind of on their own when it comes to doing contact tracing and proximity tracing. So so really what we're doing is kind of breaking it down, like I said, into that macro level and the micro level. So what governments are doing, this is an example of what some countries and their governments throughout the world are doing. What I want to point out is the one that's in India. What they're basically saying is that before any individual returns to the workplace, they need a basically country-sponsored application on their mobile device. So if you think about it for the United States, that would be like having a CDC application installed on your mobile device before you are allowed to return back to the office. Now, I don't know if that's something that will ever really get implemented, due to privacy and things like that. But it's just curious. That is a direction that some countries are taking. And I am trying to advance to the next slide, but nothing seems to be happening. All right, so hopefully this stays here. These are some of the questions that are being asked of enterprise IT. And it's not just the IT teams, honestly. It's human resources teams, facilities teams, security teams. But in order to open up successfully and safely, there's a couple different questions that are being asked. Number one, is there a way that I can ensure social distancing? Are there any tools that can provide that? Two, if there is a person at your organization that is COVID-19 positive, is there a way to do contact tracing and go back in time and find out what other individuals were in contact with that person? Is there a way that we can be notified of congestion areas and hot zones so that users can self-police and avoid those areas, as well as alert individuals or maybe security guards, as an example, so that they can go to those hot zones and avoid or kind of disperse those individuals. So when it comes to the enterprise use cases that we see, contact tracing, it really all starts from a user journey map. So what that entails is, for a COVID-19 positive individual, we can see what zones a user has been in over time. So that's just what a user journey map is. When a person is in a certain area of a floor or in a certain zone, where have they been and how long have they been there for? We take it a step further and we go to contact tracing. Contact tracing is a way to find out what other individuals were in the same zone as that COVID-19 positive person at the same time. So this is important because typically what contact tracing would entail is interviewing a COVID-19 positive person and find out, every single person they've been in contact with and every single place they've been for the last 14 days. People's memories are not, 100% perfect, and they're not going to remember everything. So we're able to give you a solution that can automatically track and detect all that information. And really the last enterprise use case is the congestion notification. This is being able to find out where hot zones and congested areas are in your organization so that you can, break up those areas, as well as, allow people to avoid those areas if possible. So if you're thinking about maybe a college and you want to, say that we don't want students to go into this very crowded study area, here are other study areas that are less crowded, just as an example. So what you see here, this is an example of the user journey map. This is a screenshot from our premium analytics dashboard, but what you can see is for an individual person, which zones that they have been in, and for how long. So this is really important, this user journey map. Say this person was COVID-19 positive and you need to send a janitorial department to, clean. What this shows is that bottom zone, that CSQA zone, that needs to be very, very thoroughly cleaned. Same with the top 3 zones on top of it. But what this can also show you is which zones this person has not been in. So you know that you can focus your janitorial efforts, if you will, in these zones that you're seeing here versus other areas throughout a building or throughout campus. So the user journey map, once again, tells you where a person has been and for how long. The next piece is, once again, taking that one step further, is the proximity tracing. This is a way to identify which other individuals have been in the same zone at the same time with that COVID-19 positive person. So this is where you can kind of go back 14 days and find out each and every individual that you should notify, or that you're required to notify, that has possible exposure to COVID-19. And the nice thing here, though, is that you don't need to give up any privacy. You don't have to disclose who that COVID-19 positive individual was. All you'll have to do is let the possible infected people know to maybe self-quarantine. And lastly, you have the congestion alerting. There's 2 pictures on the screen. On the left-hand side is the kind of base MIST dashboard, where you can see zones on a floor plan and how many visitors you have to each zone and what their dwell time is, or how long those people are in a specific zone. On the right-hand side is, once again, our premium analytics solution, where you can specify thresholds for certain areas. So if you've got a conference room that normally holds 50 people and you're reopening with 20% occupancy, you can say, I don't want more than 10 people to be in a specific conference room. And if there are, send me an alert so that I can have, a security guard, for example, disperse those people. So these are really the main reasons why MIST and Juniper are really positioned well to support a contact tracing initiative. We have 5 different vectors here, and these are things that regard BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, and Wi-Fi that really no other vendor in the market can do. So each and every one of the MIST access points has a 16-element BLE antenna array. So that allows us to have the most granular locationing in the market. We also have a MIST SDK, a software development kit that can be embedded in an organization's mobile application. So we can see the location based on a mobile application. We can see locations based on BLE asset tags. So that might be just BLE tags that you're tracking location. Those are coming out in a couple different form factors, which I'll discuss next. We can also listen to passive BLE. This would be like if you had an iPhone or an Android device that's just turned on. These have BLE radios. So even if they're not connected to your network, we can see where they are on a map. We can also see the location of wireless users that either connected to your wireless network or even unconnected clients. So those are things that are just beaconing out there that you can see the location of. So once again, there's not any vendor that can do all of these at once. That's why really MIST is uniquely positioned in this space. So when we think about the 3 main methods of doing the location tracking, it really kind of starts from a Wi-Fi perspective. This is really the easiest way. This is the most ubiquitous. Wi-Fi, it's nice. It's always on. You get decent accuracy. You get 5 to 10 meter accuracy, but really Wi-Fi is kind of where everybody starts in this journey. But what we've really seen recently, that's kind of becoming the #1, the prevalent way of doing location tracking, is this middle one right here with the BLE ID badge. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an ID badge. We've seen people with BLE ID badge sleeves. So like the individual sleeve itself has a BLE tag. We've seen BLE lanyards that will have the badge attached to it. But once again, it's something that is nice because it's always on, so it's always constantly chirping. It's more accurate than Wi-Fi. You get 3 to 5 meters of accuracy with BLE, And that's because, once again, we've got that directional antenna array in each and every one of the Mist access points. Other manufacturers wouldn't be able to get you that level of directionality and accuracy with BLE, but Mist can do that. And the nice thing is, you know, if you're handing out these BLE badges or these ID cards, you can have this tied into, you know, an HR system that, you know, you can specify that, you know, badge 1, 2, 3, 4 belongs to, you know, Ben McDonald. And the third one is the mobile app. So the mobile app, this would be if you had the Mist software development kit embedded in your enterprise application. And this is nice because this enables bidirectional communication. You could engage with the end user via the Mist SDK. This will give you the greatest amount of location accuracy. You can get 1 to 3 meter accuracy. The one thing I will mention with the mobile app is that it needs to be running in order to get the analytics. So if the app is not running, or maybe it's killed in the background, but you think it's running, you might not get these analytics. So honestly, what we've seen from this contact tracing and location services is that that middle one, the BLE ID, the BLE asset tag, that seems to be the number one use case that we've seen going forward. Here, I just want to kind of talk about some of the different data sets that tie into the different features. So on the left-hand side, you see there's Wi-Fi connected clients, BLE asset tags, and the SDK mobile app. Those all feed into things like our real-time live view of client location, clients by zone, congestion areas, proximity tracing, and the user journey. Those are all going to be things and devices that are part of your organization. You know, Wi-Fi connected clients, those are people that are associating to your wireless network. Asset tags are things that you are specifically tagging that are of interest to you. The mobile app, these are people that have your app. But on the right-hand side, the unconnected Wi-Fi clients and the passive BLE devices, these might be things that aren't part of your organization. But what they do is they provide additional information metrics into that hot zone and congestion area analytics. So once again, that's just a piece that not all vendors can do, that we can give you additional information. These are areas that are congested. You might want to avoid those areas. All right, so when you talk about Mist, Mist offers a bunch of different subscriptions that you can use. So I'm not going to go into each and every one of these, but I do want to point out that for things like the user journey, the contact tracing, and the longer historical analytics, that would be part of our premium analytics subscription. That's what you see on the right-hand side. But the other things on the left-hand side, the live view, the clients by zone, congestion, you can use the base Wi-Fi assurance if you're just looking at tracking the location of Wi-Fi clients. If you wanted to track BLE assets, that would be asset tracking. If you ever wanted to do blue dot wayfinding and push notifications to end users via BLE, that would be user engagement. And Nick mentioned earlier that we have a virtual assistant named Marvis. That's the face of our AI engine. If you ever wanted to ask Marvis questions, say, hey, where is a specific client? That's a Marvis subscription. So I just want to point out there are different subscriptions within Mist, and these would be some of the ones you would be familiar with if you want information regarding those different subsets. I do want to point out really quickly that Mist and Juniper are all about, data privacy and trust. And really, there's no personal health information that we're collecting. Really, at the end of the day, it's up to the organization, it's up to the enterprise to, have, COVID-19 positive individuals report to them saying, hey, I'm COVID-19 positive, and then kind of correlate that to the other users on the network that were nearby. But we're not collecting any personal health information. We're not reporting any personal health information up to any of those government organizations or large public health institutions. So last slide that I've got, why use Mist and Juniper, if you're going into this journey. Number one, whatever solution that you opt for, just make sure it's cloud first. On-premise appliances, they don't scale, and the agility of feature releases is just not suited in this type of environment. You know, times are constantly changing with this COVID-19 thing. So, you know, the agility that you have in a microservices cloud is paramount. You know, when Nick mentioned Netflix earlier and how your home screen changes every time you open the app, you know, we're putting in new features to our product that can, you know, help scale and evolve with this situation. And also, if you're tracking the location of, you know, hundreds or thousands of wireless clients, you know, every second, having the cloud that's able to process that data is key. Next, for BLE, please use a solution that has, you know, directional BLE so that you can get very accurate BLE location. Having an omnidirectional BLE antenna in an access point can't get you the level of granularity that you need in order to ensure social distancing. And also get a BLE solution that's able to find, you know, passive devices and has a software development kit that's, you know, tried and true. You know, we can get all these three different vectors in order to find different BLE devices. For Wi-Fi, obviously, you know, Mist is a leader in Wi-Fi, and, you know, make sure you can get information on both connected Wi-Fi devices as well as unconnected Wi-Fi devices. This AI-driven piece is really important with no manual calibration. Typically, if you're doing any type of location services, you need to do like a manual site survey, a manual calibration for every floor of a building. And if that floor happens to change, if a wall is added or a wall is removed, that survey is no longer valid. Same type of thing for all different device types. You know, all devices are not created equal, so you need to do a survey for each individual device type. Mist is unique because we use unsupervised machine learning in the cloud, so that you never have to do a manual site survey for location services. The access points in the cloud are able to do this all via AI and machine learning, and it's all unsupervised, so you never have to worry about that. And lastly, just make sure you choose something that can give you a user journey and that contact tracing, because otherwise you're not going to be able to reopen successfully. And with that, I would like to just show a quick demo of what some of the things look like within the Mist dashboard. So Jamie, would you be able to stop your screen share? Awesome. So hopefully everybody can see my screen right now. What you are seeing right now is the Mist dashboard. And before I get into the location piece, I just want to point out really quickly. So this is what it would look like if you had just logged in. And when Nick talked about really the 4 pillars of Mist, I just want to point out that everything that Mist does is from a client experience perspective. So we have this concept of service level expectations just to ensure that clients are having the best possible experience on the wireless network. But even at this first landing screen, if they are not having the best possible experience, we can automatically drill down and get root cause analysis to find out why, in fact, there are issues. So this is a really powerful tool, but I'm not going to go really deep into this because honestly, I know you hear about more for that proximity tracing piece. I want to start really quickly and go to our location and then live view, just to show you an example of what you would see for the location services for different vectors. So if I click over here, you can see I've got locations, oops, pardon me. I can see the location of app clients. Once again, these are mobile devices that have the Mist SDK running on your enterprise application. So I could see the location of those devices. I can show the location of Wi-Fi clients. Once again, those are going to be wireless devices that are associated to your wireless network. I could show unconnected Wi-Fi clients. Once again, these are things that are just beaconing out there that don't necessarily connect to your Wi-Fi network. And then you can show BLE clients, Those are the passive Bluetooth low energy devices that you see on your environment. And then lastly, you have the assets. So once again, those are all these different things on a map, so you can see, hot zones and where certain devices are on a map. Next, we have this concept of beacons and zones. So zones are just areas of a floor plan that you identify. So this is how we get that kind of congestion and hot zone analytics. We specify areas on a floor plan that's a zone. So you can look at a zone up here and say, hey, there's a lot of devices. This is a congested area. Let's send a security guard over there to help break that area up. So really quickly, I just want to show you those 5 different vectors I've mentioned a few times, but this is where they would be and how you would see them live on a map. All right. The next thing I want to show you is our location analytics. Now, there was a screenshot of that earlier in my presentation. So this is an example of where you can see, how many visits each zone is having. So you can sort on the area on the number of visits. You can see what the average dwell time of clients are. So here I can see that this zone has, a high number of visits and my clients have been there a lot. So once again, this is just another thing that's, part of this Mist dashboard. But what I really want to show is our Premium Analytics dashboard. So this is the Premium Analytics dashboard, and these are some of the pre-canned reports that we are providing. So we have a contact tracing report and a utilization report. And we can specify based on, the day we're looking at and the specific device. In this case, this is a BLE asset tag that we are monitoring. But at the top, this is where you have that user journey map. So once again, you can see which zones which zones a COVID-19 positive individual has been in, and you can see their dwell time and how long they've been in specific zones. So once again, in my analogy of, the janitorial staff that needs to clean up and do a deep cleaning after a COVID-19 positive individual has been identified, you're going to focus your area or your time mostly on this hardware firmware location zone, still spend a good amount of time on CSQA in this kit zone, but all the other zones on the floor plan, that this device, this person has not been in that area, so you don't need to worry about those areas. Once again, if I take that a step forward, this is the contact tracing piece. This is where I can see in 15-minute increments what zone a device has been in, how many other devices have been in that zone at the same time, and then a list. And you can export this to a CSV file if you want in order to manipulate certain data. But this would be the list of individuals. So typically, once again, this is going to be BLE, badges. These are going to be the people that you need to notify that, they've been in close proximity with a COVID-19 positive person. Once again, you don't need to tell them who the person is. It's all anonymous. And this is really cool because honestly, lots of times you'll have to alert like the entire floor if that were to happen. With this solution, you just would have to alert the individuals that are listed here. And then if I go down over here, this is where you can specify different capacity metrics for zones. So you can see throughout the day how busy a zone has been. So you can see green, yellow, and it gets darker into orange and red the higher the occupancy is. You can also specify what you want that capacity to be. So in my example earlier, if you had a conference room that could hold 50 people, but you want that capacity to be 10, you can specify what the capacity of the zone is over here. You can then see how many visitors were there and for how long they were there. So you can see if 2 areas are green, that's not really an area we specifically care about, but it's really these, that are 2 that are orange that are next to each other. Those are ones you care more about. There's 33 people here. They've been all together for 14 minutes. So with that, I don't need to show anything else. This is all I need to show you, but hopefully you found this interesting and insightful. And with that, I think we'll turn over to Dwayne and see if there's any questions out there.
Dwayne,
Thanks, Ben. Oh.
sorry about that. One of the questions that just came up in the queue is, how would I try this solution? What do I need? And what would be my next steps?
Sure. So in order to demo the solution, the first thing I showed was that Mist dashboard account. So you would need a Mist account. You would create an organization. And then really it's as simple as uploading a floor plan. You want that floor plan to scale. And then you would have Mist devices, whether that's a wireless access point or just one of our Bluetooth antenna arrays. So you would have that on a floor plan. And then you just make zones. So a zone honestly is just an area of a floor plan that you specify. So, if you're a school, you can specify each classroom as its own zone. And you can know when, users go in and out of that zone. And then you would just let us know, and we would say, hey, these are the people that need access to the Premium Analytics dashboard, and we can get access for you. When you create a Mist organization, you get 90 days free for all the different subscriptions we offer, so you can kind of get this analytics for 90 days and kind of test it out.
Thanks, Ben. That was the only question that we had in there. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. And I'd like to thank Jamie from Data Networks Marketing. Jamie, you did a great job. Thank you for all your hard work in getting this together, scheduling for us.
Thanks, Mike.
Our presenters, myself, Ben, and Nick, our contact info is there. Now, if you want to have someone do a demo personally for you, a proof of concept, Data Networks is more than willing to help with that. Our contact information is there, our phone number, and you can email us as well to talk about that. Lastly, I just want to let everyone know that your $25 Grubhub gift card will come in your email that you're registered with within the next 24 hours.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.